Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. We are doing a War for Earth-3 spotlight to talk about War for Earth-3 number 2, which finishes up this event. Ton of creators on this book, written by Robbie Thompson and Dennis Hopeless, art by Karen McCown with Dexter Vines, who are the same artists that did the Crime Syndicate series, right? Yeah, like, is that what it was called, or was it called Earth-3? Yeah, the Crime Syndicate series. It was written by Andy Schmidt that we talked about. We also have Ariel Olivetti, Julio Ferreira, and Brent Peoples on art. So yeah, ton of guys doing the line work. Matt Herms does the colors. Letters are by Simon Boland, and I did appreciate that we had the same color artist throughout, because it did help tie the art together, even though there are times where I got pulled out of the story a little bit, like, oh wait, that's clearly somebody different on the line work. As far as for how the series ended up, I sort of have mixed feelings about it, but I guess we'll get into that. What did you think, Rocky?
I was disappointed. My feelings aren't mixed. I was very, very disappointed. This is basically, I think it's clear that the way this ends, it's very likely a lead-in to Dark Crisis, as Earth-3 is essentially taken off the playing field out of the multiverse. But I thought it did a great disservice to the Crime Syndicate in general. I don't like the way it ends up with the sort of like the new team roster, and I felt that overall I thought it misrepresented the characters of the Crime Syndicate for the most part. I was forgiving of it because I thought that the ship would right itself, but it didn't. I was disappointed. It had some cool moments, but for the most part, I was quite disappointed with this, and I needed this. This is still the better. This is still the best out of Aquaman, Trial of the Amazons. War for Earth-3 is still the best, but it's disappointing, and that just goes to show how disappointing all three are, frankly, between Aquaman, Trial of the Amazons, and War for Earth-3. DC needed I was looking for something more from Robbie Thompson and Dennis Hopeless, that they could nail this landing, and they did not, in my opinion. I was very disappointed in this.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, here's the thing. Like, if I read this book first, right? Let's say I hear, hey, there's going to be this War for Earth-3 event, and somebody says, okay, here's how it ends, and they give me the last issue, and I read it, I probably would be saying, like you, it didn't land at all. I didn't like it, disappointed, what have you. Here's the thing that kind of helped me not be so disappointed, if that's a thing. Yeah. Based on like part 3, part 4, a little bit of part 2 also. Like, that Flash tie-in where all it was Johnny Quick shows up, tries to steal the cosmic treadmill, and then the Titans, we talked about it last week, the Titans tie-in, which again, Suicide Squad shows up in Titans Tower, or actually wasn't even Titans Tower anymore because that had blown up, but in their hideout, they snuck in even though they were there to ask for help, which made no sense, whatever. Yeah. The kind of the quality of those two, or not even the quality, because the Flash was still a great issue, but just how the War for Earth-3 parts of those issues were kind of afterthoughts. Yeah. I had come to realize and accept that, yeah, this War for Earth-3 event, and I use that in air quotes, because it's not really an event. It's not big enough or important enough or consequential enough to be an event in my mind, to be called an event.
Yeah.
So my expectations were kind of tempered already. Like, I kind of expected this to not be that great. So I don't know. Maybe it worked out for me because I wasn't super disappointed. But you want to give a recap and we'll talk more in detail?
Well, sure. Well, first of all, yeah, basically the parts leading up to this, which, and again, as we already alluded to, the Flash issue and the Teen Titans Academy issues were really non-issues because there was no progression of the story of the battles that were taking place on Earth-3. It just had Rick Flag's Suicide Squad recruiting the Titans in Teen Titans Academy, and the younger Teen Titans, some of the classmates the younger Teen Titan classmates joined Nightwing, snuck on board the T-Jet as they flew to Earth-3. And then we know that Amanda Waller has convinced Ultraman to take himself off the playing field on Earth-3. Basically, she convinced Ultraman that saying, look, Ultraman, let me handle all your problems on Earth-3. Let me handle the politics and the nonsense with the government and all the different government agencies and all the world governments and the spy agencies. Let me handle that, and you can just be Ultraman. You can be king. Let me govern while you are the king. And well,
and what that means for Ultraman is she's
yeah.
going to run the day-to-day stuff, and what he chooses to do, if you're Ultraman and you're all powerful and you don't have anything to do anymore, you go to the zoo.
Yeah. And stares at the giraffe while eating an apple. And, he's actually eating an apple while there's, in the opening scene here. I mean, like I said, and this is actually kind of comical in a way. That's actually some of the moments that I thought were maybe comical. I didn't even mind those aspects of the story. But in any event, Ultraman's taken off the playing field while Amanda Waller's Suicide Squad, or Multiversal Suicide Squad, because it's made up of all these various players throughout the multiverse, is taking on Rick Flag's Suicide Squad. And Rick Flag has Nightwing with him and the Titans, and it's a battle between them and Amanda Waller. And so we have Harley Quinn there, Mirror Master, and they're attempting to really take out Amanda Waller's, essentially, a Suicide Squad. And she also has, Donna Troy and Power Ring and Johnny Quick are now on the side of basically Amanda Waller, while Ultraman is off the playing field. And unfortunately, so they're trying, the frustrating aspects of this, while they're, Harley Quinn and Mirror Master, they confront Amanda Waller. She completely expects their attack. Meanwhile, she laughs when the Teen Titans students try to confront her, and it's laughable because of course it's Amanda Waller. We're not shown how she can defeat the students. I think the students could easily defeat Amanda Waller. I mean, they're powerful. She isn't. She's just a black woman with no powers. How did she incapacitate the young Teen Titans? That's never shown. So much is not shown on this. It's so frustrating. So Rick Flag talks to Nightwing and Harley Quinn and Mirror Master. They end up trying to figure out Amanda Waller's plans. And one of the people working with Amanda Waller is Yorick, this sort of like this Birdman in an astronaut suit, and he knows all of Amanda Waller's plans. And once again, we don't know what Amanda Waller's plans are. We're told that, well, Amanda Waller tells everyone who gets close to her, from Rick Flag to Mirror Master to Bloodsport, throughout the issue, she tells a whole bunch of people what she's really doing and what this threat is. And, she's basically doubling down on, I finally found a planet that I can keep safe. And it's Earth-3. But clearly she's seen something as well. She's playing a larger game to protect likely the larger part of the multiverse. But we're not really privy as readers as to know what the hell that is. And the reason why it's so deeply unsatisfying to me is we've known since Future State, it hasn't been a secret what Amanda Waller's been up to since Future State. We know that ultimately she ends up essentially having a Justice League on Earth-3. We've known that for quite a while. We've known that the Crime Syndicate, the Future State storyline, had the Crime Syndicate taken off the table. And in this story, all it ends up is Ultraman's taken off the table, sent into the Phantom Zone, after he's made to throw up by Mirror Master and Ambush Bug, teleporting him, disorientating him, causing him to puke up kryptonite, which weakens Ultraman. And then along comes Chulebra, who's possessed the Power Ring and put together the Phantom Zone projector, which Rick Flag nonsensically smashes to pieces because he's angry at Amanda Waller. And you end up with a brand new, I guess, a quasi-Justice League, what Amanda Waller calls her Justice League. And her Justice League at the end essentially consists of Match, Nocturna, and Match, Nocturna, Donna Troy, Johnny Quick, the Demon of Earth-8, I think, and the Green Lantern, John Stewart, and the Black Siren. and this is the new Amanda Waller's Justice League, and the central conceit of this series is that at the end of this story is that Amanda Waller has won, and it's almost portrayed as if this is somehow a revelation, but it isn't, because I mean, I now officially hate Amanda Waller as much as you, Jace.
Nobody can hate her as much
Amanda.
as
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Amanda Waller has always won anyway. She's never been really brought to justice. So this is just another story. This isn't a unique story that's unique because Amanda Waller won. This is just yet another story where Amanda Waller won. There's nothing new here, and it came at the price of the bastardization of the characterization of Owlman, who was made to look like an idiot, Donna Troy, who's made to look like a fool, Johnny Quick seems to know the secrets of Amanda Waller. Power Ring, I don't know why Power Ring is on Amanda Waller's side. I'm not really sure what are all these secrets they know of Amanda Waller. I don't know why the world governments of Earth-3, Andy Schmidt, who did that 6-issue Crime Syndicate series, where are all these other villains and heroes, which are reversed because good is bad and bad is good on the Earth-3? They didn't. I don't even think that they played adequately. That Robbie Thompson didn't play adequately enough with that concept. And Dennis Hopeless, this was so profoundly disappointing to me. So what wasted issues with Teen Titans Academy, a wasted issue with The Flash. There's so much more to Earth-3 that deserves so much to be treated so much better than what we got in this far too short a story. And for what? For Earth-3 to now be taken outside the multiverse? Somehow at the end, out of nowhere, Amanda Waller has tech that allows her to literally dissipate and make the entire planet of Earth-3 disappear and off the plane of the multiverse. So, I mean, that might be interesting and play a role in Dark Crisis. And in the role at some point, it's going to come back in the battle against the Great Darkness. The fact that Earth-3 is not in the multiverse to be maybe a victim of the Great Darkness, there's a cool element to that intrigues me. But I was really hoping this was going to be a story in and of itself where I could just get some good Crime Syndicate fun, Amanda Waller fun, and it would have. This came at the expense of the characters of the Crime Syndicate. Amanda Waller, this character that she just ends up, to me, Amanda Waller should not be able to fit in. She's an anti-hero. Earth-3 is Ultraman's domain. It's Donna Troy's. It's Owlman's. And for them to have been utterly humiliated like this, almost emasculated, is at the expense of the story. I just feel like heartbroken. I was expecting so much more out of this, and I mean, there's really more I can say. I mean, there are some cool moments here. There are some cool moments, but I just feel so disappointed in this. So disappointed in this. And even I mean, Match and Nocturna literally throughout this whole event, except for a few pages in this final issue, spent the entire War for Earth-3 storyline screwing in hell. They were literally having sex in hell throughout this entire series, except for a handful of pages here in the final issue. Now, again, there's a comical element to that, and we can laugh about that. And I'm even celebrating. I'm wearing my Superboy shirt, or Superman, or whatever. But I mean, it's just as a storyline. This storyline was, there was too much crap thrown at the wall here, and I found myself deeply dissatisfied, especially where Ultraman ended up and taken off the playing field. And I'm so disappointed. This should have been a story that stood on its own, and this shouldn't have been beholden to Dark Crisis. I gotta say, like the cynic in me, because I like to be positive about this, but the cynic in me, this makes me seriously question the state of editorial malfeasance at DC right now, because this is just a mess. This thing is a mess, and the messiness of this storyline really comes through for me in this final chapter. And like you, I mean, it's pretty sad. Like, even, and I'll let you obviously speak for yourself, but it tells me quite a bit about your point of view when you tell me that, well, I wasn't expecting much based on the last two issues. Well, I agree with you, but I mean, I was giving it the benefit of the doubt, and I was disappointed. So I don't know. Tell me that there was more to this story that you enjoyed than I did.
I can't. I wish there was. I mean, it had potential. I wasn't as excited for it as you because I wasn't, even though I enjoyed what Andy Schmidt did, I felt like, well, it's not really, the crime syndicate I'm used to. And I didn't enjoy it as much as the classic, but there was potential there. Um, like you said, I mean, but there's some fundamental differences. I mean, for me, the whole thing about Earth-3 was that the only hero was Lex Luthor, and he didn't even actually have superpowers. And the only other superpowered beings were what was originally the five members of the crime syndicate. And nobody else had powers. And that to me is more interesting. And it feels like they did pivot to that direction here. There's very few superpowered people, which is sort of what Amanda Waller's going for, if I understand her motivations right. Like if she wasn't able to, and again, it's like pure narcissism and hubris for her. Okay, I was never able to truly protect Earth-0, so I'm going to go to Earth-3 because I'm tired of being a failure, right? And again, this is what she is saying because I agree with Rocky. She always wins. It's annoying when she wins in a way that's cruel and manipulative. Um, and you could, in a way, make the same argument about Batman. But I would say his way of winning is more cold and calculating. But I don't know. Maybe at the end of the day, they're both the wrong ways to win, removing the emotion and human factor. But regardless, from Amanda Waller's point of view, she can't keep Earth-0 safe. So I'm going to go to Earth-3 because, again, classically Earth-3, there are very few superpowered beings. So if she can get what superpowered beings there are on Earth-3 to basically be under her thumb, it's a lot easier to protect Earth-3 because there aren't any other superpowered beings causing a threat. And to Rocky's point about this tying into Dark Crisis, and he's probably right, she removes Earth-3 from the multiverse, so now there's no multiversal threats. So what? You've saved the day, Amanda Waller. You truly have won, and you're going to be able to keep this Earth safe. Why do you even need superpowered beings if there's no supervillains and there's no multiversal threats? I gotta imagine Amanda Waller's going to get bored pretty quick. But anyway, it's kind of a strange decision to make on her part. So
Yeah.
uh, it didn't necessarily ring true to me. But there's a lot about this that doesn't ring true, and mostly in the characterizations, which you already touched on. Because yeah, even these new versions of the Crime Syndicate don't necessarily act the way they acted in Andy Schmidt's series. Although I will say, Ultraman in this series, particularly this issue, acts much more like the Ultraman that I'm used to, kind
Yes.
of psychotic and crazy, as opposed to
Agreed.
in Andy Schmidt's series, he was just a little more kind of whiny and immature. So I did appreciate that. But where I think the characterization really went wrong here was Rick Flag. Like Rick Flag was, they've portrayed him here as being so anti Amanda Waller that he can't even critically think. He can't even reason correctly.
I know.
Case in point, when he destroys the Phantom Zone projector. Like Rick Flag is a soldier and a tactician, and he's smart enough to know, okay, yes, my end goal is to take out Amanda Waller, but I can't even do that if Ultraman is around. So to have him smashing the Phantom Zone projector
Yeah.
because he's so paranoid that Amanda Waller can't be trusted, that he's gonna destroy the one weapon that can take care of Ultraman, like that, I was like, no. Rick Flag is smarter than that. I'm not a huge Rick Flag, stan or anything like that, but that was maybe the low point of the issue for me. Like, no, Rick Flag wouldn't do that. He's smart enough to know that, hey, this is the one weapon that can take out Ultraman. It doesn't matter who's wielding it. You get Ultraman off the playing field, and then you worry about everything else. So yeah, it was a little problematic as far as moments. Yeah, there were a lot of great moments, like you said. Loved the blood sport moments. Loved the moment where Ultraman says, "I see you, Waller." I love the moment where he picked up a giant building and threw it at her. So, I mean, those felt like really cool, classic Ultraman moments. And the fight between Ultraman and Superwoman was fun as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, there were some things here that were fun, but ultimately, it kind of felt like the whole, again, event, I use that with the air quotes, was just so they could take Earth-3 out of the multiverse for purposes of something they're going to do in Dark Crisis.
Yeah. And it just,
So,
and an added criticism is, what was the point of having Nightwing and the Teen Titans there? What was the point of having literally Nightwing and the Titans get there, and that the little Teen Titans are caught by Amanda Waller, and they're basically, she could use them as blackmail, but then plays the hero saying, I would never hurt kids, and like, bullshit, she wouldn't hurt kids. She'd kill them in a heartbeat. She'd blow their heads off if she had to. And so then literally before they do anything, Nightwing and the Titans all agree to go back and are transported back. They're literally taken off the battlefield within 5 minutes of them arriving, it seems. So it was a complete waste of time, a total waste of time, for an issue that what was the point of having the Teen Titans Academy issue other than some vain attempt to try to prop up sales for a title that was already canceled? And again, I don't mean, I know I'm sounding kind of harsh, but it just seemed so, I don't know, all these wasted opportunities. You could have had a story that was more focused, and I really wish that Robbie Thompson and Dennis Hopeless, I wish they could have, you have two writers collaborating, and their knowledge of Earth-3 just seems to be abysmal. I mean, there's very little. There's little evidence that they even that they read Andy Schmidt's 6-issue series, and Andy Schmidt's 6-issue series deviated from in some ways from the traditional concept of Earth-3, but he got the gist of it. He had Andy Schmidt, in your interview with him, he talked about having a 150-page Bible of Earth-3 characters. And why are you using multiversal characters and bringing them to Earth-3 when you have a whole planet of Earth-3 villains that you could have used? And I thought this, I'm sorry I'm being so harsh, but I really thought this just lacked imagination. This was Earth-3. Earth-3 is an awesome place, and it's almost completely unexplored. All we dealt with were the players of the Crime Syndicate. Owlman was completely written off as an idiot in part one. Johnny Quick was brought back from the dead, and seemingly Amanda Waller convinced him to be on her side because he must have known, presumably Amanda Waller must know something about the impending crisis or Dark Crisis. And I'm starting to see a pattern here in the DC universe, and we're going to be talking about these titles, and I'm going to be making this one complaint on multiple DC titles. It seems like Deathstroke is another one, Amanda Waller. All these characters in the DC universe are having these visions of the Dark Crisis, and they're not telling anybody about it. Good Jesus. Coming out of the death metal, the entire multiverse, the citizens of the entire multiverse on every Earth remember the crises that have happened. But then multiple people are having visions of a Dark Crisis, and they're keeping it secret. So Deathstroke's working behind the scenes. Amanda Waller's working behind the scenes because they have this vision. For God's sakes, like, it's just getting increasingly frustrating to me, and I could definitely feel like I could go on a rant about this, but look, this is still better than Trial of the Amazons by a country mile, and it's absolutely better than Aquaman after issue 2, which I don't even want to read. We'll get into when we review Aquaman in a second. But this is strike 1, 2, and 3. 3 strikeouts, unfortunately. This is, this at best, maybe this is a walk to the first base, but I'm just so disappointed. I was so looking forward to this, and my God, this was such an opportunity that was completely squandered because this isn't Earth-3. There's nothing about this Justice League. Earth-3 does not have a Justice League. It has a crime syndicate. And you don't destroy that mythology of the planet simply for shock value. And that's what I feel this was for. And for the cheapest kind of shock value of Amanda Waller winning. Really? I mean, we had her in, how many times do we have that in Suicide Squad? And anyways, my rant is over.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I enjoy this more than Trial of the Amazons. I'm enjoying that more than this. Aquaman, I don't necessarily see that as an event because I think it's an ongoing series, but I could be wrong. And too soon to say after only two issues if I'm enjoying that more than I'll enjoy this. Um, but one last thing I'll mention in terms of you wondering why the Titans even show up here. I do sort of agree with you. Typically, a crossover crosses into something to help boost sales and give people a chance to try other titles. But yeah, Teen Titans Academy was already canceled. So, but in in kind of play devil's advocate for DC editorial, Teen Titans Academy may not have been canceled when this was conceived and when this was put together. Um, and I have a feeling this might have been put together long before other things changed. And it always happens because they've been working so far ahead. Maybe they've been working a little too far ahead on things because that's sort of what it feels like. It feels like things have been changing and events like this sort of get left out in the cold when the rug is pulled out from under them. We know that happened with Dark Knight's Death Metal, although I kind of wonder if I would have thought that was really any good, whether anything changed for Scott Snyder or not. They still do 5G. I don't know that Dark Knight's Death Metal improves that much to where I would be singing its praises. I really don't think that would have been the case. But regardless, what may have happened is some editorial things may have changed. But I do agree that Teen Titans did need to show up here, did need to cross over Teen Titans Academy. Um, because the other thing, and neither one of us really mentioned it, but with what happens at the end of Titans Academy, which is the part 4, right before this one, they're all leaving Earth-0 to come to Earth-3. But then this issue starts, and we're right in the middle of battle. There's a
Yes.
big skip ahead, right? There's a big jump ahead in time, so we don't even get to see much of the fighting or the action. Like Rocky said when he was talking about it, there's a lot that happens in this War for Earth-3 Part 5 that we're told about and we don't necessarily see. And I think that's always a mistake. Because yeah, if you wanted to make this work, and again, it might be just a sort of a problem of real estate, and it's evident right away because on the first double page spread, there's some huge dialogue or exposition boxes saying, "Here's what's going on," "Here's what's going on with Rick Flag," "Here's this and that," and so it's a way to move the story forward. And I'm like, well, if you guys didn't have enough pages and you're having to put in these huge dialogue boxes, why did you waste part 3 in Flash and part 4 in Teen Titans Academy? You could have put more actual story, War for Earth-3 story in those issues instead of what we got. So, yeah, I think if anything, in my opinion, if there's any failure with this event, it's the pacing,
Yeah,
more than anything. I can
definitely.
maybe forgive some of the characterization stuff because maybe they are setting up for Dark Crisis, and in the end, that'll be a good story, and I'll be able to forgive some of this. But yeah, it wasn't paced very well, and that's just the bottom line. So again, no slight to anybody; these are all talented creators, but I don't know. I have a feeling, as I said, that editorially things probably changed between when it was initially conceived and what we've got on the final end here. But yeah, it's not the best. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and but I will say uh, I want to end on a higher note. I thought Robbie Thompson and Dennis Hopeless they captured Ultraman's to echo your comments. They did capture Ultraman's insecurities when he told Donna Troy, Superwoman, that he loved her, when he knew he was trying to, after just literally beating her and kicking her in the face and obviously being very cruel and very physically abusive to her. And she basically calls him pathetic as he's being projected away into the phantom zone only to admit to Donna Troy that he loved her. And so that was actually those are the moments that I was looking for. And I guess maybe this, far be it for me, this is called War for Earth-3, so I thought there was going to be a crime syndicate focus and that the Suicide Squad would be the guests on Earth-3 trying to take it over. And but I had more fun reading the Future State Suicide Squad than I did this in terms of just the pacing and everything else. I got more teases there, and I thought it posed so many questions, and this didn't provide me any information that we didn't already know. Other than the fact that okay, Earth-3 is now off the playing field. Now I have to admit, if at some point in the Dark Crisis the multiverse is on the brink of collapse, and then all of a sudden Earth-3 appears with the crime syndicate, and they have to release Ultraman to help them out to save the multiverse at a particular time in Dark Crisis. That can be a cool fanboy moment. So maybe this is all for some creative setup going into Dark Crisis. In which case, I mean, that might be cool, but I just don't like how we got there. We got there, but so I'm not saying it might not have a payoff somewhere down the line in Dark Crisis, but this is, I got to tell you, this is not going to be as a trade. These 5 issues, I think it's like I said, it's going to be a kind of a pacing and structural nightmare.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Don't forget to go check out our regular DC Spotlight. Not a huge DC week this week, but there are some great books, so be sure you go over and join those. As always, we appreciate everybody listening and tuning in on YouTube, so we will check you out next time.
See you later.